these financial service companies, and there are at least 20 to 30 of them by our count, who are doing this high-speed trading, and they've really only been doing it, like 5 or 7 years that they have needed this service and have been building it. And there will be some opportunities ahead. So what exactly are the challenges that you feel you're facing, and what opportunities come out of solving those challenges? Should we start with Jay this time?
Yeah, I think for us, part of it's being the new kid on the block. Wireless is new to this application, but it's certainly not new to the world. And beyond that, there's an issue of planning, spectrum management, what have you. But what we have found is that more and more the finance client sees microwave as a necessary part of their business. So what we're trying to do is, as I said, take the wireless out of wireless. Our handoff is a wire. Our networks are strings of Christmas tree lights, and they just move bits really, really fast. And once we get people convinced that that can work, and they also understand that we're also a partner to the fibered world, the acceptance goes up considerably.
Unmolested bits, we'll add.
Hey, we don't molest our bits.
And Sheldon, for Layer 1, talk to us.
Yeah, so, well, I guess, one of the things, obviously, is you get to a point of diminishing returns. I think if you got, points and space, and if you start with the assumption that they're fixed, and you start trying to cut away, an extra millisecond, or now get into microseconds, and people talk about nanoseconds, obviously, the challenge, you start to run into physical limitations. You can't beat physics. People will sometimes say they went faster than the speed of light, only to find out that that's not true. So there's really that. And so people will start getting creative with doing things like they might disable forward error correction or take out regenerative elements where they normally would have put them. And then that starts to put in trade-offs, with respect to the reliability of the message. And so how far are you really willing to take that? And so I think that's, definitely a challenge. I want to get to the most interesting opportunity here, I think, might be in the virtualization, if you will, aspect of it. Like, we talk about fixed points, but it seems to me there might be an opportunity sort of longer term looking there on if you can virtualize what's happening at those fixed points and find a way to move them closer together somehow in a virtual space, like the whole concept of virtual data centers. Maybe there's an opportunity there longer term, and it would be really interesting to see if something like that comes about. And especially in the context, I think, of software-defined networking, how one might do something like that. I think that could be very interesting.
So for those challenges and opportunities, let's go to Satoshi.
All right. I don't want to distract the conversation in terms of fastest speed and low latency, but also from another angle, I'd like to point out the important thing for financial sectors is reliability for network services, obviously. And essentially, they are looking for 100% SLA. And fiber telecommunications company, as well as wireless companies, friends, we need to serve or provide the best quality of services. In order for them to do so, we are going to provide power and cooling redundant, fiber networks in order for them to provide it. This is what we are doing. So.
Thank you. And the two service providers, international. Go, Bjarni.
Well, I think Satoshi was talking about cooling. I think the personal challenge that we are faced with is you could bring your equipment in here.
Exactly.
It's absolutely freezing in here. I'm more worried about here. But I'd like to talk about the challenges and from the point of view of the customers first. And when we were talking about the high-frequency traders or the financial traders, their challenge is that normally the vendor, it's a dream world for customers when there's fierce competition among vendors. But now in this instance, when it's a question of having the lowest latency circuit, it is a nightmare for them because there's fierce competition and the network operators are constantly improving their own network and getting a little bit ahead, shaving 2 milliseconds or 30 microseconds away from their network, so they're a little bit faster than the one that is currently faster, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, and you can do that more easily when you're a network operator. You can do that more easily terrestrially. You can cut that corner, go through that church, drill through that hill. So you shave that 1 millisecond to make your connection between Chicago and New York, say, the fastest. So that's the challenge that our customers are faced with. But therein lies our opportunity as we are operating, we are providing that fastest connectivity for our customers. So if we don't, if Hibernia doesn't happen to own the fastest network, we're certainly going to partner up with the ones that owns the fastest connectivity down to Bovesta on offering that. And Eric, sorry to say that, if somebody beats you, I will be there and providing the fastest connectivity to Bovesta over that somebody. So that's rather than being the high frequency traders and having to do all that research and continuously stay on top of that, we do that for the customers.
That's very smart. That's
Now, but in terms of challenge for us, the vendors, and I'd like to touch on what Shelton was saying. Sometimes it is that people claim to be faster than light. We are building a transatlantic network, a new transatlantic cable, which is the fastest that you can do because it is speed of light and distance. That gives you the latency. It's very, very simple. And when I hear that people are beating our proposed 59.8 millisecond latency, first of all, I check whether they're drilling through the core of the earth because that's the only way to be faster. And I scratch my head. What is happening? And that what causes confusion a number of times because we can't expect our customers to do all the due diligence. They just take people at their face value. So it takes a few weeks and months to put the ruler on the map and say, no, you can't actually do that. You can't beat speed of light.
So one of the challenges is reality and helping
It's a
your
reality
customers
check,
to recognize reality. Eric?
Yeah, I mean, I agree 100%, and that's why at Globnet, from day one, we've embraced partnerships because we believe that, look, you cannot do it all. And what people don't realize is that these things cost an awful lot of money. I take my hat off to Bjarni and his team for building Project Express because, you know, they're way up there in terms of the amount of money that they need to invest in order to build latency to shave off, let's say, 8 milliseconds. So creating the business case to do that is not easy, right? And in our case, unless somebody builds a new subsea network that's probably going to cost them somewhere between $300 million and $500 million, there's just no way of doing it faster, right? So,
and just to elaborate on that, that's the difference between the terrestrial competition and the submarine.
exactly.
You can always, as I said, cut through that hill or drill through that hill or cut through that church to add to shave 1 millisecond away from the terrestrial route. You cannot do that submarine. You either build a new cable altogether,
Yep.
$300 million project, or
more. No, I mean, I think that's exactly it. And then the other thing that you need to ask yourself, going back to what Bjarni mentioned, is you will see some claims, and then you really need to tell the guys, I said, look, this is what I commit. I cannot do anything better. Don't ask me to squeeze, let's say on my route, more because we just can't. I mean, it's physics of things, right? Now let me see how you came up with your number, and then you realize that they're playing all sorts of games to come up with supposedly a slight better latency number. I think the traders are learning about this. I think companies like Hibernia ourselves are doing a fairly good job in educating them. And then the real question is if they need access to, they need to be a little bit faster and they cannot get it from the network, where are they going to get it from? And that's when you start playing around with algorithms. That's where people start investing money in high-performance supercomputers and trying to squeeze out speed and the calculation. How fast can I run these numbers so I can see the number on the screen and then hit the button and make that, let's say, and make that trade, right? So it's not only about infrastructure, it's looking at the whole ecosystem and then saying, all right, where as a financial customer, where can I squeeze latency to just be a little bit better than somebody else? And I think that's what we're seeing. So from we're very open, let's say, to partnerships, as we said with Hibernia. I mean, there's people that need to connect, let's say, the Chicago Mercantile Exchange with Bovespa, and so then you do terrestrial, subsea, and then you jump on terrestrial again, and that's where you can find, let's say, some savings. Let me jump on that network. Maybe it's your microwave network, or somebody else's that's going to take you from our landing point straight, let's say, to that Chicago Mercantile Exchange. But at the end of the day, these networks need to be built. And you know, companies like Allied Fiber, like Hunters, they're going to look at it and they're going to say, how fast can I recover my investment in order to do that? Or if Telehouse builds a new data center, these things are not cheap. And so you really need to look at the gamut of solutions and then figure out whether you can recover them in time. No? And how fast is this market going to grow and how long it's going to last. No? But until that point, I think we all are going to be working very closely together and just trying to come up with a solution that our customers are looking for.